If you walk through if you walk through the garden, you better watch your back. Well, I beg your pardon. Walk the straight and narrow track. You can walk with Jesus. He'll save your soul. You gotta keep the devil down in the hole. You got the fire and the fury at his command. You don't have to worry. You know that Jesus has. You can go with Jesus. He'll save your soul. You gotta keep the devil down in the hole.
And all the angels sing about Jesus' mighty sword, and they'll shield you with their wings. They'll keep you close to the Lord. Now don't pay heed to temptation, 'cause his hands are so cold. You gotta keep the devil way down in the hole. 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 I say just sing, ho, ho, down in the hole.
All right. How's everybody doing this evening? Welcome to We Read the Documents. Now, Tuesday nights are the nights I usually stream, Tuesday and Thursday, for many new followers that we got for both Jesse Spots and Matthew North. Welcome. And, usually I'm streaming Tuesday nights at 11, Thursday nights at 11, most of the time on Thursday nights, either 10 or 11, maybe sometimes earlier on Thursdays because I'll have a guest. But, I saw so much BS being reported today that they're trying to bury both Clinton's involvement in Epstein and trying to bury Trump's involvement into Epstein. That is really, really just, ugh. It's just, ugh. So, tonight we're going to go over a little bit of both. I'm mainly going to focus on Trump, of course. But however, we are going to discuss Bill Clinton and the nonsense that he came out today with his quote as well. So, James Patterson comes out today and gives an interview on Fox News. And Patterson clarifies where he got that quote, and I'm going to read it again, from Filthy Rich yesterday that I read, that covered Trump's alleged involvement with Epstein over Mar-a-Lago, of Trump kicking him out. And the interesting thing about that is he doesn't clarify anything. And Trump later, when he talks about Epstein, he doesn't clarify anything either. So again, we're back to square one of whether or not there's any truth to this story. You know, I'm going to read Patterson's quotes, but first I actually want to read, I'm getting the chapter. I think it's in the 30s. Here we go. If anybody is interested, is chapter 33, Virginia Roberts, 1999. Pages 132 to pages 133. It cost $100,000 to join the club being Mar-a-Lago. Members paid $14,000 yearly in dues, and although Epstein had never properly joined the club, Trump's friendship with Ghislaine Maxwell gave Epstein unlimited use of the facilities. This arrangement ended with a member's young daughter complained to her wealthy father. While relaxing in Mar-a-Lago, she approached and invited out to Epstein's house. The girl said that she had gone and that Epstein had tried to get her to undress. The girl's father had gone directly to Trump, who in no uncertain terms told Epstein that he was barred from Mar-a-Lago. But no complaint was filed. The police had taken no action. But years later, a woman named Virginia Roberts, who is now known as Virginia Giuffre, would say that as a young girl, she had an identical encounter at Mar-a-Lago. And it was well known that many of the girls that were part of Epstein's West Palm Beach trafficking allegedly came from Mar-a-Lago. That's where they were recruited. They were either recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, the famous Mossad super spy, whether it was by other girls in like a pyramid scheme, kind of like a sickening refer a friend. You know, it's just disgusting. So what did Patterson say today? He goes, and I've listened to the interview, and I'm not going to play it because I'm afraid that I'll get hit with a copyright strike. But the quotes here are correct from what I've heard. It's horrified. There are girls, alleged hundreds of girls, Patterson told Dan and Prino, discussing the charges against Epstein. The veteran author then told Prino he had been told personally that President Donald Trump kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida after learning of an alleged incident with a staff member. "Quote unquote, there were some complaints about Epstein at Mar-a-Lago," he said. "I spoke to the head of the spa there. I said, 'Did you ever meet Epstein?' She said, 'Oh, yes, he was inappropriate with some of the younger women there.' She said she went to Trump and he threw him out of the club." Well, that's all fine and dandy. At least we know it's the head of the spa at Mar-a-Lago. We don't know the time frame. We don't know who this woman is. We don't know. I mean, it gives us nothing other than we now know where the quote came from. So Patterson, again, isn't doing his job as as an author. I won't call him an investigative journalist, but I guess for this sake I will. He's not telling us any information other than now it's the head of the spa. We have no time frame. We really don't know if this happened because, again, Trump never went to the police. Again, that's odd. If Trump is, if we're trusting the plan, Trump's such a good guy. Why did he go to the police over this? Now, they say that, Trump was weak at the time. He was scared or whatever. We don't know any of the facts of the case. I mean, Thomas Scott News brings up in the chat, who's the dad? We don't know who the dad was who complained. We don't know any of the details. To me, this story still rings false. Bradley Edwards, the lawyer for Virginia Roberts Giuffre, tried to track down this accusation and this claim. And again, he came up with nothing. This is only evidence that we got today out of James Patterson was that it was the head of Mar-a-Lago, the head of the spa. However, he gave no other information, and he didn't even give the information that he gave out in his own book. He kind of gave that little tidbit, but he didn't even go as far as to say it was because a wealthy socialite that was at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club complained. He gave he didn't give his whole story. He gave only a part of it and gave a little bit of new information. And again, something that Derek Brose had brought out too, and it's something I'd mentioned last night, his next book was The President is Missing with Bill Clinton, who, by the way, Bill Clinton's tied to Epstein, and James Patterson writes about it in Filthy Rich. Something stinks here. It really does. I almost think that this is a way to get ahead of the narrative. And this is my own belief. But I think this Patterson's reporting, his book, in Filthy Rich, was a way to control the narrative, to get behind it, to really control it. And I think that's what this is. It's similar to, as much as I respect John DeCamp's work, The Franklin Cover-Up, there's some questions that George had from cavdev.org about DeCamp. He's got a little bit of a sordid past. So, is Patterson, Patterson lives next door to Epstein. He claims in the good of his heart he's writing this because he is sickened. I don't know. But it's awfully odd that his next book is with Bill Clinton. That's odd. So, again, we really don't get no new information as far as that's concerned. Other than it was the head of the spa on Mar-a-Lago. No time frame at all. Trump hasn't talked to Epstein in over a decade, Council for National Policy member Kellyanne Conway says. I added in the CNP. Look it up. She's in the 2004 leaked membership roster of the CNP. White House counselor Kellyanne Conway said Tuesday that President Donald Trump told her he has not had contact with Jeffrey Epstein in over a decade, and that the president finds the recent charges of sex trafficking against the billionaire financier completely unconcilable. I talked to the president this morning. He hasn't talked to or had contact with Epstein in years and years and years. And over a decade at least, he said, Conway told reporters. He doesn't think he's talked to him or seen him in 10 or 15 years, Conway later said. And he, like everyone else, sees the description of these charges against Epstein and completely unconscionable and obviously criminal. Disgusting, really. Okay. So Trump comes out today. And he says it's 15 years. There's a big difference between a decade, which was pretty much Epstein was charged and convicted by that point, and 15 years, which would put it around 2004-ish. However, something else happened around that time that wasn't this supposed socialite kicking him out of the club, complaining his daughter was hit upon by Epstein and kicked out of the club. And we'll get to that, something that I've dug up. So we know that Epstein wasn't really being investigated to 2005, okay? He didn't go to trial. And, he got the sweetheart deal in 2008, okay? So if it puts it at 2004 according to Trump, 15 years give or take. I'd actually say it's less, and I'll prove my case in a minute. And we're going to read Trump's words. That's always important. We're going to read the documents here. The timeline doesn't add up to me. I'm going to get a term from Josh Reeves. I smell horseshit and chicanery. I smell con job. Trump defends Acosta and Epstein's scrutiny from The Hill. President Trump on Tuesday defended Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta, who is facing calls to resign over his role in a non-prosecution agreement with billionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein in a sex crime case. Trump told reporters at the White House that Acosta had been a very good labor secretary, and that Acosta probably wished he had handled the Epstein plea deal a different way. The president added that he would be looking at the case very carefully. I feel badly, actually, for Secretary Acosta because I've known him as being someone that works so hard and has done a good job, Trump said during the Oval Office meeting with the Emir of Qatar. Trump downplayed Acosta's role in Epstein's 2008 plea deal, saying there were a lot of people involved in that decision, not just him. Acosta at this time served as the U.S. attorney in Miami. The president also sought to distance himself from one-time friend Epstein. The two men used to socialize together in Palm Beach, Florida. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoke to him in 15 years. I wasn't a fan, Trump said. He doesn't say why. He doesn't say that it was over the whole incident that happened at Mar-a-Lago that's reported in Filthy Rich. He doesn't say why. Well, I have an idea, and I'm about to break it here. So, it's always important to read the newspapers, people. It really is. Really is. Really important. Because the world order can't scrub these yet. The algorithms haven't got to the papers yet. Not yet. Not yet. Trump snags the Ghostman estate for $41 million by Paul Owers. Look at the date. The date for this is November 16th, 2004, the Palm Beach Post. Okay, was where I got this from. That would be 15 years ago. When it came time to bid Monday for the palatial Palm Beach digs of Abe Ghostman, the Donald was not to be trumped. Nobody was going to outbid me, the brash developer turned TV personality said from the New York office. Trump bested two other bidders with a $41.35 million offer for the 43,000 square foot 7-bedroom estate on 6 oceanfront acres along Stored Raiders Row. But Trump, 58, proud possessor of Mar-a-Lago, has no plans to live in the Ghostman home at 513 North County Road. He wants to what else, sell it and make more money. The star of the mega hit The Apprentice said he intends to redevelop the site into a super luxury house that will be the finest anywhere in the United States. He might build another house before flipping the entire package. I've known about this house for quite some time, Trump said. It's probably the best piece of land in Florida, and probably the country for luxury real estate. Okay, so I'm going to get down to where it really matters. Now, he was in bidding war with multiple people for this estate. The auction began exactly at noon after Judge Stephen Friedman dismissed an objection from an attorney representing money manager Jeffrey Epstein. The lawyer had argued unsuccessfully that Trump was not a qualified bidder because his contract stipulated he could not close on the sale unless the title and insurance was in place beforehand. Yes, folks, you read here correctly. He was bidding for the Ghostman estate and against Jeffrey Epstein. So he was at least going against Epstein in 2004, late 2004. Now, is this the reason why Trump and Epstein had a falling out, other than the allegations of pedophilia and sex trafficking? Was it from this massive bidding war that they had over the Ghostman estate? You know, friends can get bitter. You know, Donald's got a big ego. So it does fit the timeline. Now, I don't know. I have no proof. This is only speculation. I'm not going to state this as fact. However, it's interesting nonetheless. He said not to tell anyone how Trump kept tabs on Jeffrey Epstein. In the months before he ran for president, Donald Trump was in conversation with National Esquire owner David Pecker about his old acquaintance Jeffrey Epstein and how a sexual abuse scandal might affect the Clintons. Trump said that Pecker had told him that the pictures of Clinton that Epstein had from his island were worse. I want to read that again. Trump said that Pecker had told him that the picture of Clinton that Epstein had from his island were worse, recalls a Trump organization employee. Now remember, David Pecker and Donald John Trump are friends. The National Enquirer gave relatively favorable coverage towards Donald Trump when he was running for president, as well as Radar Online when they talk about the Epstein case and Trump's relations to it. They do everything they possibly can to distance the Donald away from the Epstein case as much as humanly possible. It has nothing to do with it. And I showed one last night, and I'll link the others in, in the rest of the box. So anything that we get from Pecker, we take with a grain of salt. But let's read it. Let's go on. Perhaps the most revealing commentary Donald Trump has offered on Jeffrey Epstein, a disgraced financier who played not guilty this week to sex trafficking conspiracy, occurred in late February 2015 on stage at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference. Trump, then flirting with a presidential run, was footing softballs from Fox News host Sean Hannity when a lightning round of questions turned up to the favorite topic, Bill Clinton. Nice guy, Trump said. Got a lot of problems coming up. In my opinion, with the famous island of Jeffrey Epstein, he added, seemingly veering off topic. A lot of problems. Now, Jesse Spots played this clip on his YouTube channel. And my added to that is there is no proof that Donald Trump ever went to Little St. James. There is none. Now, Trump does have an island somewhat near Little St. James in St. Martin. However, he didn't get that until early 2010. I want to make that clear. Ed Opperman will put those two together and say that, well, maybe Trump takes a boat ride down Little St. James from St. Martin. It's after Ed, okay? So, unless he's still doing it to this day, he could have been, for all I know, in the early 2000s. Early 2010s, if that's what you mean, Ed. And clarify it, because if you're saying it's going, before all these allegations from the early 90s. To the mid 2000s, then you're mistaken. Other than that, Ed, you're reporting spot on with Epstein, but that is one clarification that I do need to make. So, because of that, Trump may not have ever needed to go to Little St. James. In fact, Epstein was that very much top of mind for Trump, who had his own history with a registered sex offender. Over the previous several weeks, the National Enquirer published a string of stories about Epstein, including a world-exclusive interview with one of its accusers, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who said in the court documents that Epstein forced her to have sex with him at his Upper East Side home, which is the Lex Wexner mansion in New York City. She told the tabloid that Epstein paid her to have sex with Britain's Prince Andrew, one of the expensive, and there's a picture of Giuffre with Prince Andrew, one of the expensive, routine, high-flying elites who enjoyed Epstein's company and took advantage of his private jet. Buckingham Palace has denied the allegations. Another was Clinton, who the Enquirer reported had traveled with Epstein's assistant on his plane and was Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. Clinton denies ever traveling to Little St. James Island. It was confirmed that he traveled with Epstein several times in 2002 and 2003, including trips to Africa in connection with the Clinton Foundation. Well, he traveled 26 times. And that we know of. Could be more. In her interview with the Enquirer, Giuffre said that she had seen Clinton around, but that she never saw him involved with women. Trump had been following the story closely. In the week or so leading up to the CPAC speech, David Pecker, who owned the Enquirer until it was sold and ruined earlier this year, visited Trump on the 26th floor of the Trump Tower, bringing along an issue of Prince Andrew and Epstein-related cover, according to people familiar with the meeting. Pecker, of course, was in the business of protecting Trump. Early supporter of his presidential campaign, Pecker had catch and kill at least 2 stories involving the real estate mogul and women who claimed to have affairs with him. Trump has denied the affairs. Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, who would later go to prison in part for his role with the hush money schemes, was in the room when Pecker sat down. Pecker, he later told me, used to send him articles and issues before they were published so that he and Trump could read them. After the meeting, Trump called in Sam Nunberg, then a Trump Organization employee who saw Pecker leaving the Trump's office. Michael was sitting there when I came in, and the issue of the National Enquirer with the pictures of Prince Andrew was on his desk, Nunberg recalled. He said not to tell anyone, but that Pecker had just been there and then brought the issue with him. Trump said that Pecker had told him that the pictures of Clinton that Epstein had from his island were worse. Interesting. Cohen speaked by phone from the Federal Correctional Institute in Otisville corroborated Nunberg's version of events, though he declined to add any additional information about the meeting. During the meeting with Pecker, Trump went on about how Epstein was known for his behavior, according to a person familiar with the conversation. Trump, after all, used to be friendly with Epstein and at least had an inkling about his sexual predilections. In 2002 interview with the New York Epstein, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy who was a lot of fun to be with. He added, he's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are the younger side. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for comment. I mean, duh. Trump isn't known to have gone on any trips with Epstein, which would have been out of character. I don't think Trump would have gone on someone else's property or someone else's island or villa, Nunberg said. He doesn't even play golf at anyone's clubs. See, that's the thing is I'm going to have Weissop on next Friday to talk Roy Cohn's connections to Trump. And Cohn supposedly, and because of Jim Rothstein, and I've had my own issues with Jim Rothstein, and we'll talk about it with Weissop, that Cohn was running a blackmail ring. So Trump knows about these blackmail rings. So he knows that Epstein's Little St. James Island is rigged, okay? Now you might will say, well, then why was he having sex at parties at Lex Wexner's mansion in the early 90s? Katie Johnson's deposition. Well, that's a long time, but 2000 is a long time before the early 90s. 1994, I think, to be exact. So things could have changed since then. It's difficult to know. But I don't think that Trump would have gone to Little St. James. I just don't. But it is known that Trump went to Lex Wexner's mansion, and Trump went to Epstein's Palm Beach house, as well as Trump flew one time, according to Mark Epstein in a deposition, one time with Jeffrey Epstein, and they act friendly towards each other. Like they do each other, they were friends. So we know he's flown on the Lolita Express one time. Okay? John Bull in the chat says 26 times that Clinton flew isn't as clear-cut as people are saying. Email me. We've read the documents at protonmail.com. Email me, what information you got on that. I've always heard 26. I've always came across 26 times. Let me know if it's over and under. Show me your research on that. Please, if you don't mind. Other individuals who found themselves in Epstein's orbit over the years, from Clinton to Prince Andrew, have had similar eager to distance themselves from the scandal. President Clinton knows nothing. Okay, we're going to read President Clinton's statement. Okay. Democrats may soon have an opportunity to question Pecker about his relationship with Trump. Later this week, the House Judiciary Committee will vote to authorize a subpoena for Pecker among people involved in the Mueller report as they investigate a possible obstruction of justice. I want them to interview Pecker. I want Congress to go. The House Judiciary, not Congress. Well, Congress, yeah. The House Judiciary Committee to go after, question Pecker. It'd be very interesting. Very interesting. Trump also did host Epstein as a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and read that too, which he appears in photos in 1997 and 2000. And Epstein's personal black book, we went over that in the last stream. Go back and look. There were many, many, many numbers for Trump, his family members, his brother, his sister-in-law, his children, well, at least Ivanka, Ivana, Melania. There's a lot of numbers in there. So yeah, that's, why I wanted to read that. This part right here, the only reason why I wanted to have this New York Times article is I'm trying to find out the earliest part where Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump knew each other. Now, we know from the deposition of Katie Johnson, which I'm about to put on screen, that it was at least at 1994, September 1994. Okay, at least if we're we gotta have markers. All right. Now, this was the deposition that was first filed before Gloria Allred got involved in the later cases. Okay. Now, some people could say that Gloria Allred tainted Katie Johnson's later video deposition. I don't necessarily believe so. However, at least we know from this, the original deposition, that was September 1994, that Epstein and Trump knew each other, if you believe Katie Johnson, which is a pseudonym. That's not a real name. We do not know her real name. This article says it was 1992. The year was 1992, and the event was a calendar girl competition, something that George Horaney, a Florida-based businessman who ran American Dream Enterprise, had organized at Mr. Trump's request. I arranged to have some contestants fly in, Mr. Horaney recalled in an interview on Monday. At the very first party, I said, "Who's coming tonight? I have 28 girls coming." It was him and Epstein. Mr. Horaney, who had just partnered with Mr. Trump to host events at his casinos, said he was surprised. I said, "Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs. You're telling me it's you and Epstein?" In fact, that was the case, an indication of a years-long friendship between the president and Mr. Epstein, as some say ended only after a failed business arrangement between them. Was it the bidding over that estate? I don't know. But that would fit more in my timeline. And that would fit more that this Mar-a-Lago nonsense is bull. The full nature of the eventual falling out is not clear. But through a mutual appreciation of wealth, women and years of occupying adjacent real estate in Palm Beach and on page 6, the lives of the two men routinely intersected for decades until the connection turned from a status symbol into a liability. And Mr. Trump made sure to publicize the fact that he had barred his one-time friend from his clubs. In those days, if you didn't know Trump and you didn't know Epstein, you were a nobody, said Al Dershowitz. The long-time Harvard University loss. I've done 3 episodes on Dershowitz. I'm going to do more. he's definitely tied in all this. Law school professor who served on Mr. Epstein's defense team, who was charged with unlawful sex with minors in 2006. As of December 2018, and you can look it up, Dershowitz was still providing legal counsel to Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if he is now, but he still is. Trump also dismissed Mr. Horaney's warning about Epstein's conduct. I said, look, Donald, I know Jeff really well. I can't have him going after younger girls. Mr. Horaney remembers. He said, look, I'm putting my name on this. I won't put my name on it and I have a scandal. This goes back at least 1992, possibly 1991. And George Horaney is a Florida-based businessman who ran American Dream Enterprise. Interesting enough, this party was at Mar-a-Lago. So Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago as far back as 1992, and Trump was allegedly friends with Epstein as far back as 1991, 1992. How you interpret his quote. This is a really interesting story that I haven't heard anybody cover yet. Mr. Rennie said he pretty much had to ban Jeff from my events. Trump didn't care about that. Shortly before the 2016 presidential election, Mr. Horaney accused Mr. Trump himself of inappropriate behavior toward his girlfriend and business partner Jill Hurth during their business dealings. The White House did not respond to a request for comment on Tuesday. But speaking Tuesday to reporters in the Oval Office, the president distanced himself. Okay, we've already read that. Mr. Epstein was never a dues-paid member of Mar-a-Lago Club, according to official Trump organization. But as a guest of a guest, he was treated like a close friend by the club's owner and self-appointed head waiter, Mr. Trump. They attended a dinner party hosted for Prince Andrew. Ron Perlman and Mort Zuckerman were also there. Longtime Trump associates played down their closeness, saying that that was simply how Mr. Trump treated any guest at his club, checking on their steaks, bragging about his meatloaf, scamming the room for better tables so guests felt like they were getting special treatment. Yeah, but the pictures, I mean, this is a lifelong, not lifelong friendship, but a friendship that went on for at least a decade. Epstein was no one to Trump. This black book, he had numerous numbers. You can't downplay that. Since Mr. Trump's decision to enter the presidential race in 2015, his aides and allies have been eager to minimize any connection to Mr. Epstein. Knowing that Mr. Epstein's relationship with Mr. Clinton would be investigated at a time Hillary Clinton was likely to be his opponent, Roger J. Stone Jr., who is crooked as they come, in my opinion, and we'll talk about him with Roy Cohn with Viasat. The former Trump advisor wrote in his book, The Clintons' War Against Women, or Clinton's War on Women, who was also written with, Robert Morrow, who's turned against Roger Stone and Trump, which was published during the campaign, that Mr. Trump turned down many invitations to Epstein's hedonistic private island in his Palm Beach home. Once when Mr. Trump visited Mr. Epstein at his Palm Beach home, Mr. Stone wrote, he later seemed to joke about the scene of underage girls he witnessed there. The swimming pool was filled with beautiful young girls, Mr. Trump later told Mar-a-Lago member, according to Mr. Stone. How nice, I thought. He let the neighborhood kids use his pool. Trump is either the most innocent person in the world, the most naive, innocence, just never would think, for you to believe this quote, he's either the most innocent person in the world, the most doe-eyed person in the world, the most oblivious person in the world. And this isn't like you have a friend and he's looking at child pornography on his computer. He never mentions to you that he's a pedophile, and then he gets busted. And he never shows you any inklings. This isn't the same as that. It's not. It was everywhere. Sam Newberg, a former campaign aide to Mr. Trump, said he raised concerns about the candidate's involvement with Mr. Epstein before Mr. Trump officially began his presidential campaign. Mr. Trump assured Mr. Number that he barred Mr. Epstein from entering his clubs after Mr. Epstein had tried to recruit a woman who worked at Mar-a-Lago. No. That Trump said I kicked him out of his club when this stuff became public, and I made sure NBC knew, Mr. Numberg recalled. Well, no. It never became public. And NBC never reported it. We've caught Trump in a lie here. First, Trump never called the police. Man, this is you're reading a psyop rewriting of 1984 history right here. The battle of whose narrative is correct, and we have to use discernment to try to figure it out on ourselves. This this became public in James Patterson's book, Trump. So you're telling me, according to this quote, Trump didn't kick out Jeffrey Epstein until 2016. Trump said, according to Numberg, I kicked him out of the clubs when this stuff became public. Well, this stuff didn't become public until Filthy Rich was... If anybody came across these allegations before Filthy Rich, let me know. Because according to this, Trump didn't kick him out until 2016. None of this timeline matches up. None of this Mar-a-Lago, Trump kick him out of Mar-a-Lago. None of this adds up. Mr. Trump appeared fully aware of what a liability his one lifetime Palm Beach pal had become. Mr. Numberg said that in early 2015 he was beckoned into Mr. Trump's office at Trump Tower, Manhattan, along with Corey Lewandowski, and that as campaign manager, Michael D. Cohen, and Mr. Trump's private lawyer after David J. Pecker of the National Enquirer had just left the building. Mr. Trump showed the two men a copy of the new issue of the Enquirer that had yet hit the stands, with pictures of Mr. Epstein's private island. Mr. Trump was gleeful about Mr. Epstein's connections to the Clintons and hinted there would be more to come. Yeah, because they weren't going after him. Investigative journalist Konica Sarnoff. Now, Konica Sarnoff, she wrote the book Trafficking. Okay, and she's also the executive director of Alliance to Rescue Victims of Trafficking. Now, according to Ed Offerman, and I believe him on this, Konica Sarnoff's, whoever published her book, who was the publisher, Ed Offerman alleged that he is a Mossad agent. Sarnoff's book told us nothing new, pushed the bar forward at all with any information that we have as far as trafficking is concerned, especially when it comes to Trump. There's very little to know that in Trump. I've covered more Trump the past 2 streams than I have. Heck, Filthy Rich is a better book. It's another snow job. It's another snow job. Go listen to Ed Offerman's coverage on Epstein. Sarnoff allegedly, through the publishing of Trafficking, her publisher was a Mossad agent, allegedly from Ed Offerman. Clinton, meanwhile, said in a statement... I want to actually get Clinton's statement real quick. I've seen the statement. I actually want to get that statement. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I can't believe... Now, I've seen the statement. Okay, here we go. I didn't mean to do it Fox News. It's interesting. Fox News doesn't give you the statement, but The Hill does. A liberal publication gives you the statement. Maybe this isn't the complete statement. If someone has it, send it to me in the chat. President Clinton knows nothing about the terrible crimes that Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those which he has been recently charged in New York, the statement from the Clinton spokesman reads. In 2002 and 2003, President Clinton took a total of 4 trips on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane. 1 to Europe, 1 to Asia, and 2 to Africa. What about the other trips? Which included stops and connections with the work of the Clinton Foundation, the statement adds. So Clinton's saying he had no involvement. He didn't know what was going on. I mean, we know Epstein helped the foundation of the Clinton Foundation. The multiple trips on Lolita Express. Bill Clinton is bull crap, and I don't believe you. I don't. You're guilty as Trump is. And I want to make a statement down here because something I've read. The FBI, and I'm not going to play their little press conference. Yes, John, I want evidence that Trump banned Epstein before 2015 because according to that quote that I read earlier, it wasn't till the evidence came out about that event. Well, the evidence didn't come out about that event until 2016. It's actually 2016. 2016 was when Filthy Rich was publicated. So it would not have been in 2015, 2016 to the public learned about Trump kicking Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. So I want to know. I want to know. This has got to be clarified. So to go back on where we're at. Go back on where we're at, okay? The FBI is covering this up. I think they're gonna do a snow job too, just like they did in Franklin. Remember, they bullied Alicia Owen. They bullied Alicia Owen. They bullied Troy Bonner, made Troy Bonner recant. So why are we going to trust that the FBI, anybody who calls in and gives detail about this? Do they think they were saying, if you're a victim, if you heard anything, call in, and it really makes me sick. It does. It really makes me sick. So, I don't got anything else really to say about this. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't report to the, but I do think the FBI is doing a con job on this, too, of trying to get statements, and I have no idea what they're going to do with this. So I guess that's about it, everyone. It's been a very eventful day. We'll probably get more information as it continues. And I want to thank, y'all for paying attention and for reading everything. And, if you tell me when I'm wrong, email me and let me know if I made a mistake. There are Israeli Mossad connections to Epstein. There are Jesuit connections to Epstein. And, those connections need to be exposed. So, for everyone, till next time, always read the documents. Good night, everybody.